Hello, everyone. My name is Michal Cyprian, and I work at kiwi.com as an engineering manager. At Kiwi, we use the latest technology, including a lot of Google technology, to build innovative app for travelers. And today, I'm going to share the story of how we transformed our ways of working and our software delivery practices to be more efficient and to handle high-pressure situations. Our story started on Friday afternoon. I was already wrapping up my to-do list slowly and thinking about my plans for the weekend when an ad-hoc meeting appeared on my calendar. It was just me, my product manager, and another product manager and senior designer from very far in the hierarchy structure. The senior designer explained that airline partnership project, the integration, has just escalated, and there is a huge business value in it for both sides. We were expected to start working on that immediately. Can we scope an MVP which can be delivered in 3 weeks? Asked the designer. So we dived into these requirements for the MVP, and it turned out to be very, very complex. First of all, we needed to involve 18 engineering teams to do all the changes. There were changes in both the user interface and the business logic across the entire flow in the app. Very short after launch, we expected 30,000 unique users every day in the app. It was a serious thing. And the most problematic part, the 3 weeks deadline for all of this. I had an experience from various projects, including some emergency stuff where the time to production was really critical. And in these situations, my primary job is to do some high-level estimate of the effort needed. I went through it one more time. This seemed to be like very clear call. Impossible, I said. We can't make it. 3 weeks are not enough, not even to prepare translations for the new UI copies. This was indeed impossible with our old ways of working. And if we wanted to give it a chance to succeed and deliver under this pressure, under this 3 weeks deadline, we needed to do some dramatic changes to how we operate. This is how our quarterly planning typically looked like. There are many, many people, many ideas, many opinions, and a lot of negotiations. We always try to push our things into the quarter. Okay, this team is blocking us, so maybe the one after. This is like nice. There is a shiny day. People are having fun. But this just like takes time. And in situations like this one, in the emergency or let's say crisis situations, this cannot work. We can't afford it. At the time of crisis, we need our strong leaders to step up, make the right calls, and lead the team to victory. Coming from Slovakia, I need to warn you here, like, be careful and pick your leaders carefully. Don't just blindly follow them. In our case, it worked. We changed towards more like top-down approach, and our top management built a relatively detailed plan of the top initiatives we want to work on, and it was clearly ordered, like, this is number one, all the teams which are needed for this airline partnership project need to utilize all the resources to push it forward. Unless the project is delivered or blocked, or we have some extra resources that we cannot utilize, in that case, we pick number 2 from the list and we work on that one. So now all the teams across the company are synchronized on the priority. And this was actually interesting that for the product managers, it was tricky because everything was top-down. There was like clear definition of what we want to achieve. And their role was technically to execute, to become a project manager, and make sure the idea is becoming reality. For the engineers, I would say, like, of course, there was a pressure and everything, but it was pretty nice because from the very beginning, it was super clear what is our goal, what we want to achieve. We needed to check some details, like how to do some minor stuff, but it was super clear where are we going. And also, there was no multitasking. I come to work, and I work on this airline partnership today and tomorrow. So from the engineering point of view, I think this change was pretty nice. And to address this issue, like how to make 18 engineering teams communicate efficiently, that is where you typically can burn a lot of time, we formed what we call mission-aligned teams. We can take a closer look at those. Yes. This is our domain team structure we relied on for years. Simply there is a search team, and there are the experts who know how search works, and they can deliver changes there. There is one for booking, for disruptions, and so on. So we need to do here is first to blur the team boundaries a little bit, and then from each team we pick the best experts needed for the top initiative, and we draw this horizontal line and put them into some temporary team where they work closely together. They have daily things, they have clear focus on this initiative. And we have our strong leader, Mad Lead, who typically reports directly to the CEO or to the top management. So when something is unclear, there is this direct connection, we can get our answers quickly. And once the project is done, this team no longer serves the purpose. We can discontinue it, and we can use let those individuals join a new mission aligned team, let's say. Okay, so now we have the human resources, human cooperation optimized. What is the second ingredient we need to be much more efficient and to meet these deadlines? Any ideas, anybody? What might be the second game changer? Yeah, I would say technology or tools. As it's 2025, let's call it an agent. We need the best AI technology. We need agents in our workflow to be faster, to be more efficient. At Kiwi, we took this AI adoption seriously from the start. We did a lot of experimentation, a lot of benchmarks, and we tried to implement it across the board, starting with the UI prototyping platforms, platforms for translations. We replaced some of the manual processes with native workflows, and we adopted some developer coding assistants. And putting all of these things together, better organized people and AI optimizations, we were much more efficient. We can take a look at a couple of examples. Like making a decision before in the old setup, we could easily burn 7 days just like arguing with the other team to get resources for the project, going back and forth. Now, in this new setup, it felt immediate. Like whenever there was something unclear, you can reach to your Mad Lead, they can ask the CEO, and you get the answer, you are unblocked, and you continue. UI translations, this was a typical bottleneck when we were working on some very quick delivery of some UI copy changes. The coding part was easy, but translating a single sentence of text to 25 languages, it typically took 2 weeks to our localizations team to deliver it. With a new AI platform for this purpose, we could have this in 1 day, let's call it a reasonable quality translations that can be used on production. And putting everything together, delivering MVP feature, production-ready feature, typically, let's say 10 weeks, we can make it in those 3 weeks, just what we need. 3 weeks are over very quickly, and we have most of our development work finalized. It's time to see if it can work, to battle test it. There was, of course, no time to do some extensive testing. So what we did was a couple of rounds of manual testing, And then we picked a very small portion of the traffic, or just like one route, released it, and let few bookings come through. Then we reverted, checked all the logs, fixed the bugs, and we iterated this way. Once we gained some confidence, bookings were going through, we gradually rolled this out to the whole traffic. And it's time to celebrate and announce the new partnership. So the business requirements are satisfied in record time. Our users are now happily making their bookings. That's actually what they care about. They don't really need your code to be clean. They need to make bookings. That's all they care about. But our job is, of course, not done yet. As we were moving on this rapid change, we needed to take some shortcuts. There was no time to think about extensibility and do these, what we call proper engineering practices. So now the pressure is over. We have time to pay this debt. As I outlined before, we were going through the AI adoption process. So we were, of course, also here looking into ways how we can use this for our advantage. And who in this room uses some kind of AI assistant for coding? Can you raise your hands? A couple of hands. Any GitHub Copilot fans here? A couple of them. Let's say Cursor IDE, Gemini CLI, a couple of hands. OK, we tried them all. And what worked for us the best, what we use now on daily basis, or like most of our engineers do, is the first one is Cursor IDE, which is the VS Code with this AI agentic integration, where we can ask it questions to get insights about the code. We can give it tasks, stuff like that. And the second one is Claude Code. This one, the interface is much simpler. It's technically a command line tool, but it can be pretty powerful, especially when we are trying to build some fully automated, integrated workflows. This is the one to look at. So we have these new cool tools. So our first attempts looked similar to this one, like zero-shot prompt, give me the feature, what can get wrong, right? And these were the initial results. Take a quick look at the code. It's pretty bad, isn't it? This is definitely not the way. We don't want this spaghetti code in our code base, not even as temporary workarounds. So what we did next was that we took a close look at our whole software delivery cycle. And for each phase, we experimented and tried to integrate AI as good as we can. We typically start with setting the requirements. This is where we need humans to do the hard work. We can, of course, use LLM for ideation or let it criticize our ideas. But the core of the problem is that the human needs to clearly specify what we need. When we move to the analysis and the design part, this is where our agentic AI friend appears on the scene. And our job is mainly to explain the problem to the agent and feed it with the right context. Typically, we start with the baseline, which is the cursor rules or Claude MD file, where we explain the project, the best practices, and so on and so on. And then on top of it, let's say for some refactoring task, we need to use the code we want to refactor, point it to some new interface we want to use, stuff like that. And we can feed into it some, let's say, design document if needed, give it the right context for the job. What is important here is not to overdo it. Like providing the relevant context to the agent for the job will, of course, lead to better results. But when we reach a certain number of tokens, the quality of results goes down rapidly. So we need to treat context as some kind of expensive resource where we need to always carefully think if this will be useful for the agent to do the task or not. Because if we overdo it, the agent can be confused if this part is important or not. Now we are ready to move to the coding part, or maybe better to call it the code generation part of the lifecycle. And this we can imagine as some kind of a pair programming exercise. We have two basic approaches. The first one is that we humans take the role of the driver. We are the ones typing the code, and the agent is just like making suggestions to us, helping with some boilerplate tasks. Or we can turn around the concept, and we can make the agent the driver. We can become the observer, give it the description, what we want, let it do the job, and then iterate. This way, if we write a very good prompt, we can get lucky, and we can even have a coffee break while the agent is working on a code. When the code is done, there is a code review process, and this is, again, where agentic AI can be useful. What we did is that we integrated Claude Code into our GitLab. Our code reviewer agent is called VibeBro. And we can just tag it in the merge request, and it will go through the changes and give us extensive description of what is nice, what can be improved. And many times it works pretty well. Then we can accept the suggestions or take it back and let our coding agent to again address the issues and move on. When it comes to testing, this is again where we can utilize agents to be more efficient. What is interesting, for example, we can give agent MCP access to our database replica and let it generate production-like data test cases. Or when refactoring, and let's say we have a reasonable or good test coverage for that piece of code, we can teach the agent how to run tests, give it some refactoring task to, let's say, adapt the new interface for this endpoint, and let it cycle until all the tests are green. Give it this kind of self-reflection loop, like adapt the interface, refactor the code, run the tests, and then agent can understand the errors, again, like iterate, improve the code, run the test, improve the code, run the tests. What is interesting is that agent is often aiming to fix the task quickly, so they sort of hack your prompt, and they somehow adjust the test data. So typically we need to be explicit, like don't hack it, don't try to shortcut the test, fix the actual implementation. And finally, it's again human task to take all the artifacts and make a decision. We can either see that it's good enough, that it satisfies the requirements, and promote it to production, or we can restart this whole cycle with a better prompt, different requirements, better specified requirements. What is interesting, or maybe a little bit problematic about this setup, is that we typically invest a lot of time into our prompts. We explain a lot of stuff, we explain our intentions via prompts, we iterate on them, we improve them. And then, like at the end of the task, we typically clean the context and it's all gone. There is the code, but all the conversation is lost. So what became trendy lately is to replace prompts with spec files. So instead of prompting heavily, we simply write the definition of our task into a markdown file in human language. We can provide high-level explanation, maybe some user stories, some acceptance criteria, and a breakdown of tasks we want to execute in specific order. And then we simply prompt the agent to go through the file and execute it. This can help to give this agentic AI workflow a little bit of, let's say, better organization. Also, like when you are talking about vibe coding, some people might not take you seriously, while spec-driven development sounds much better, doesn't it? Do we have some managers or engineering leads or tech leads in the room? Hands up again, please. Not too many, but okay, you can maybe imagine like how the typical day of a manager look like. There are meetings, we typically need to understand the requirements and then explain to some of our engineers what we want to achieve, what we want to do, or write it into Jira. Then sometimes we point them to the starting points in the code, maybe a little bit of a pair programming, and a lot of code reviews in the end. So when I was analyzing this new style of delivering the code, I realized that this is not much different, is it? Like at the beginning, I need to explain the requirements in human language. Then I do a little bit of design and pair programming and a lot of code reviews in the end. So what I started to do is experiment with this, and I used a couple of hours of my focus time every week to use my typical engineering manager skill set to deliver the code and directly contribute to the code base again. And I'm able to offload my team and do some small bug fixes, set up A/B tests, and these small tasks where I would burn more time on explaining to the team. I can do it myself this way, and it's a lot of fun to play with that. So the question is, what's next? This is well established. If we want to push it even further, what are our options? We can play with adding a little more automation. We can connect agents via MCPs to different integrations. For example, the agent can read the requirements from Jira, or if Jira is possible, why not to prompt it from Slack and give it a requirement? Then we can use another MCP and let it connect to database replica or an analytical database. We can allow it to publish merge requests to GitLab, maybe even deploy feature deployments from branches. And this way, we can slowly automate the right side of the cycle. And humans now need simply to define requirements in human language and take the output and make a decision if this is what we wanted or we want something else. And we provide another prompt requirements and restart the cycle. So technically, humans in this setup don't really need to touch the code themselves. They can let it up to the agents. And yeah, it's important to say this is not how we deliver a production-grade software to production. This is more like an experiment, but there are some interesting use cases. For example, we need to build some complex queries to get insights from the analytical database. There we have similar workflow when we prompt the agent in Slack. They will take Cloud Code, put together a piece of code, and write some queries, and give us again, human-readable answer, which can be useful. Or we have another agent which is able to create merge requests and do or prepare infrastructure changes in Terraform that we can then carefully review and save a lot of time this way. If we achieve to, I don't know, scale this to some more complex workflows, I can maybe tell you more about it next year on next DevFest. And this is how we did it. This is how we optimized our workflows, how we adapted, changed, improved our software delivery lifecycle. The main things to remember when you are working on some business-critical delivery project, it makes sense to prioritize the time to production, make some shortcuts, address the tech debt after. Never forget to address the tech debt. That's the important one. And yeah, experiment with AI. There is some cool stuff. It can be fun. It can make you more efficient. It can save you a lot of time on the boilerplate, like give me a new API client. Here are 10 nicely written clients. Here is request response. This is something that agent can do nicely in a couple of seconds. And if you get invited to a similar Friday meeting next time, remember the deliver, deploy, refactor, repeat, and try it yourself. Yeah, I will be happy to answer any questions on Slido, or also find me later during the conference. We can have some chat. Thank you.
Great talk. Wow. So let's get to the questions. First one there on Slido is, what was more beneficial for speed up Focus on one priority with alignment across company or AI, percentage estimate appreciated.
I'm not ready for this one. Oh, well, I would say for this specific project with 18 teams that needed to cooperate under this deadline, this was the most important part because you need those search experts to understand their part, connect it to the booking part. So if the people would be disorganized, everybody would be going into different direction, doing it quickly with AI would not help much. So I would say number one was to organize the people. In the end, people are the people doing the engineering still, just like maybe on slightly different levels slowly. The AI is just about like getting rid of repetitive boilerplate stuff, do it like fast, but the core engineering, non-trivial problems are on humans to solve, and humans need to communicate efficiently to do that.
Thank you, great. So next question, how much time was spent setting up AI and how much actually delivering the project?
Yeah, like I think the timeline wasn't exactly like in the presentation that we would get a project and then start with the AI adoption. Like AI adoption was already in the process, and we were lucky that this kind of a project with the deadline arose at the time when we already knew that there is this tool here and there, and we were ready to jump on it and use it. But these were some of the first projects where we really could see the power of those AI tools, like the translations example. Like 2 weeks before, everybody, when estimating, telling everyone, like, we can't get under 2 weeks with this simple change of a UI because localization team needs those 2 weeks. So these now like calculating with 24 hours for localizations, that was like completely different story. And that's why at the beginning I would say 3 weeks, that's impossible, that's nonsense. These days I can say that, okay, 1 day for localizations, mission aligned teams, and we are able to do it like much more efficiently thanks to this.
Thank you. Next question, why Cursor, why not Windsurf?
Good one. As far as I know, there were benchmarks and experiments with Windsurf in our company as well. I'm not really an expert on this one. Maybe I can, if like you will talk to me after, I can maybe find you here at the conference one of the colleagues who is more into infra and who was part of these benchmarks. I believe we couldn't see a significant difference compared to Cursor for our use case. So we stick with Cursor for now. But I heard some good stuff about Windsurf as well.
Okay, thank you. And the next question is, where do you address security within this cycle, please? I really see that security is topic of this conference as well, so I'm glad to actually having this question.
Yeah, it's a good one. I'm prepared. I'm lucky. Yeah, this can be an issue. What we did was technically that we worked mostly with our bigger monorepos, where we spend years on building the security layers. We have some infra, Cloudflare baseline. We have the authorization and these kind of things solved in the repo. Also some, I don't know, CI/CD pipelines that are scanning for keys and stuff like that. So we technically had this security. We have a security expert actually here in the room. He can maybe tell you more about this topic. But technically the environment was sort of safe, and we let AI work in that environment. And of course, if it's a production code, humans need to do precise code review and take care of it. On this specific project, I think there were no security issues, but on some other, like more experimental projects, it happened to us a few times that we pushed it maybe too much. There were some front-end layers, like almost purely vibe coded, and the HackerOne called us, Dave, after release, we needed to roll back and pay the bounty to them. So it's a topic we should not forget.
Okay, thank you. Next up is a question, what is your experience with running the project? Reorganizing teams after feature is developed is efficient. However, once defects arrive, who handles them?
Not sure if I understand it. Is it like during the delivery or once the project is delivered and we need sort of a maintenance and bug fixes there? I'm not sure if I understood it.
No, hold on a minute, please.
Yes, I want to clarify that it's not it's working again. Okay. Like, is this better? Okay. If I understood you correctly, you said that you organized your team around the features that you needed to develop, and once the feature was developed, you kind of reorganized the people into different teams to tackle a different part of the project.
Yeah, I think I got it now, the main idea. That like we form mission aligned team, deliver the project, but then we form another one and somebody needs to maintain.
Exactly, and from my perspective, it seems like the ownership of the feature kind of disappears because it's something that I delivered at, but I do not take care during the life cycle of the project. So I'm interested in what was experience with this.
Yeah, like as I showed at the domain teams slide, there are still these domains, and we just, on top of it, I'm not sure, maybe I can show it, or I cannot, doesn't. It's a long way. Yeah, this one. Yeah. The important thing is that those domain teams, they are not gone, they are still there, and typically you got, I don't know, 8 engineers in a team. 2 or 3 of them at a time are working in the MATS teams on those initiatives. And there is still the rest handling the business as usual stuff. And as we are building the feature across the domains, but the code is still owned by the domain. Like whatever was introduced on search because of the partnership project is then a search code base, and the team is responsible for the bug fixes and the maintenance. So yeah, we need to always like pick those really important initiatives, like a reasonable number, let's say 3 to 5, allocate some of the resources to push this forward, and the rest of the engineering capacity can handle this business as usual, refactoring, maintenance, and smaller tasks. That's the idea.
Okay, thank you. Can we get the Slido back on the screen, please? Was your question answered? Good, thanks. So the next up is, it doesn't seem really sustainable from pressure on employees. How did you dealt with managing burnout and balancing pressure? Is it sustainable in the long run?
Short answer, no. This is the emergency situation, and you can't leave the emergency your whole life. So this really needs to be used for those top priority projects. And everybody is different there. Somebody handles stress well, somebody not. For me, I would say this was, exhausting, but at the same time, I felt like alive. I felt like this adrenaline rush, and I was really enjoying it, like, okay, now it's the time, we need to put our best into the project. But yeah, after those 3 weeks, you typically need to have some break. We cannot do this cycle again and again. So I think we need to always think about the nature of the project, if it's more like a refactoring project or a business critical delivery. I need to adjust the setup and the pace to that project, not to I don't know, let the people burn out and stuff.
Okay, thank you. Next one is, are you and your colleagues satisfied with code quality of the small task bug fixes that you mentioned? You implement this AI way after this cycle?
I would say this is not a big issue. Again, I would say it depends what it is. If it's a super quick UI prototype you want to show on the presentation and discard it, or then let the engineer follow the same functionality but do it the right way, we don't care about code quality. It's okay to vibe code it, let's say. if it's something that will stay with us for a long time, we need to be more careful about the code quality. And it's, I think, always about how precise you are in the human parts. Like you always can iterate, and if the AI is not useful, you can fix it yourself, or you can do the code review. It's, I would say the same problem was in the software industry before. It's like asking if you would let an intern touch your code base. Like we do it, all of us. Like it's just about setting the process right and giving enough guidance and code review to that intern or agent to keep the software like quality healthy.
Okay, thank you. Do you want to use all the time, or should we say last 3 questions?
It's okay to continue as long as we have time.
Cool.
In the room.
I was kind of hoping you would say that. So the next one is, it seems like this builds on top of years of proper engineering. What does lifecycle work even without proper building blocks in the place first?
I'm probably not the right person to answer this one, but I keep hearing the stories that there are startups that started last year and they mostly generated a code base and their revenue is 100,000 euro per year. So probably it is possible, but I don't have first-hand experience with this. For us, typically we try always to set up the main interfaces, let's say, and then we use AI mostly to build the boilerplate. Like typically, like you need to solve few hard problems, make the right interface, and then there is a lot of repetitive boilerplate to, I don't know, set up the endpoints, write tests, write another API client. So this is where AI, when used properly, can save a lot of time. But I personally would probably not trust AI these days to set up the whole architecture project and interfaces on a new code base. But some people might disagree.
Okay, thank you. And the next one up is, are there any disadvantages of this approach from your point of view?
Yeah, I think we need to learn to be super careful with the code review. It happened also to me that before, when I was working with seniors, I got the code review. I sort of trusted the code that the senior already did all the checks. Sometimes there was a busy day, so I did a code review just like, okay, looks good, checked a few things and let it go through. And this can be tricky. It happened to me that, I don't know, I realized that my code is trying to calculate flight duration from local time instead of the UTC, stuff like that. So I would say this is the risk. Like if we tend to oversee some small issues if it's like local time, UTC time, otherwise the logic looks good. We need to identify those important details and review them properly. I would say this is the main one. And sometimes you can get into some loop when you are like prompting, trying, and it's going sideways. So then it's better maybe to clean the context, start again, or decide that, okay, for this feature, it doesn't work, so I will rather write it the old way.
Okay, thank you. And the next one up is, how do you deal with code docs text amount generated by AI as a person responsible for the code reviews until the person is still responsible for that ... And I don't know if...
Yeah, again, I'm not sure if I understood it.
Me
I would
either.
say this is in general with AI, humans are always responsible for that, for like all types of use cases. So I would say
it's probably about the amount of...
like we shouldn't probably let AI generate like some nonsense. We always try to go through it. Sometimes AI tends to over-document, but you can explain in your cursor rule that, okay, in this project, do it this way. You can iterate, improve your AI cursor rules to let it follow your style. And I would say, at the end of the day, you are always responsible, or your team is responsible for the code, whatever happens. AI is just a helper tool.
Okay, we have 30 seconds, so let's try to make those worth it. What was the feature, if you can share that, actually?
The airline partnership project. That was a partnership between Kiwi and Ryanair airline, and we built like partnership. We established some agreement how it should work, and we started using their APIs, and we together built some workflow that should be better for us, them, and our users in the first place.
Okay, and officially we are out of time, but this is the last one. You mentioned NADA. What are the ways you use it at Kiwi? And sorry for if this question is too general. You might discuss it afterwards, but...
Yeah, the first one was to improve the manual processes, mostly the customer support with it. It's like typical use case. The first one is the smart chat. The Nathan platform can connect to APIs, can get the details, current state about the booking and baggage and everything, and can answer 70-ish% of all the user troubles on its own. And if Nathan fails here, it's then forwarded to classic CS support. But these days we are trying to not be just reactive, but also have some proactive workflows with Nathan. It's an interesting platform, but be careful about the pricing when you play with it.
That's a good answer. Thank you very much. I have one last. Did you expect such a crowd?
Yeah, I was surprised because there was some cool AI topic in the main hall. So thank you all for coming. It was pretty nice experience for me.
Thank you, Michal, for your talk. Please don't forget to rate this talk, this session on Sessionize. And yes.